What's up, nerds? I'm Wes, Nevermore Gaming, and
Hey,
Aaron.
buddy. Hey, I got Joan of Arc so we can play it.
No, not the Joan of Arc game. The Time of Lessons Destinies, the Lucky Duck game set in the universe of all that madness.
Oh, that makes more sense. That one's a little easier to play.
This game is on Kickstarter though,
Let me
because we're gonna get really campy with this intro. So Time of Legends Destinies is a hybrid app board game that is set in the same universe as the Joan of Arc game from Mythic Games, and it's just a fantastic collaboration between Lucky Duck and Mythic Games. And while this is super awesome, it is important to let you guys know that this is the prototype. We have just played the scenario built specifically for reviewers. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the base box, but I'm not entirely sure. But just in case, we're going to try to avoid any spoilers in the story because it is like a mystery and a story that unfolds as you play. So
if we were to play the same one we just did, especially right now, I would definitely have some information.
Oh yeah, you'd have information.
Oh, yeah,
There's stuff
I'm gonna head this way instead.
Stuff you're just trying to figure out what to do. But every different character you play does have like a unique goal they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So, we just played 2 players, so there is a third playable character that if we played with him, I have no idea what he's even trying to do. So
yeah, your goals are your destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the name of the game, Destinies. Every character that you play as has a destiny, and they're trying to fulfill it. And you read your backstory, and it'll give you kind of, hey, do this thing, or you could try this other thing, and that could also fulfill your destiny.
Yeah, there's 2 different ways you could fulfill it.
Which is super awesome, and it leads to a lot of choices to be made.
Absolutely, especially because the whole game takes place within the same city, and so decisions that I make can affect everyone else at the board. Mm-hmm. Like maybe I'm trying to find item X, and I'm looking for it, and I don't know where it is, so I'm going to all these different tiles that are face down and flipping them face up and seeing what's there and discovering them. Meanwhile, Aaron's the other side of the board, and he's like, oh, look, I found item X. And I'm like, no, I needed that. and I do think that there's probably a lot of ways, like there's multiple ways that you can even accomplish said destinies. Like I had one where I was trying to convince people to help me, and there's like 8 possible people that I could convince.
Yeah,
so even if somebody else, I don't know if it's possible, like if you killed one of them, or if you convinced them to leave, or you convinced them not to help me, or if I stole from them and made me mad, there are different people and different ways that I can get those people to help me. So just so many possibilities of ways to accomplish the different goals you're even trying to accomplish.
So as we'd said, it's run on an app, and that is kind of the main crux of the game. They kind of did the same thing with the Chronicles of Crime, where you're using the app and the QR codes, you scan things, and you can get information. So like when you go into the inn and you want to have a conversation with the innkeeper, you're like, oh, I want to ask you about this dagger I have. And you can just, if that prompt is there, say ask about. And when you click on it, you scan one of your items that you have in your inventory. You can even scan your own character card because there's a QR code there. Mm-hmm. And they might know something about you. Be like, oh, I've heard things about you.
Yeah, and typically that has to do with your destiny. So you want to ask a lot of people about yourself, because it's not like, who am I?
Yeah.
It's you saying, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Will you help me, or do you have any information about that?
Exactly. And even that, when you have that choice of like, oh, I can ask them about something, once you ask them something, usually that's the only time you get to ask it. Until maybe your next turn you can go in there and ask them again. But like if I'm like, oh, let me ask about this dagger, oh, that just wasted, I got no information. He's like, oh, nice dagger. And that's it. Like that's the end of the conversation. I'm like, oh, that was a waste of time. Okay, well, can I buy something from you? And then like, that's it. My turn's done. Which it makes your turns very streamlined, very, you know what you're going to do. You're like, okay, I'm going to move. You can move up to 2 spaces unless you have a horse or something that makes you go faster. So you move, you're like, okay, I'm in this space, I'm going to interact with one thing here. I can go into a building or, talk to a person. Mm-hmm. And then once you're, done interacting, that's it. Your turn's over, it goes to the next player. They can get, they refresh one of their die, which is a really cool mechanism we're going to touch on.
It is, though, with that being your turn. It's not, I like that it's not a specific, like, do X things in your turn. Go, you can talk to one person and ask them 2 things. It's a lot more like an RPG where it's kind of like you can have a full interaction. So you go interact with this person and you can kind of exhaust what you can talk to them about. Or if you make them mad, your conversation may end really quickly. Or if you have a good rapport with them and you ask good questions and you have interesting things, it can unlock a chain that you go down through that turn. So it's really, again, you don't really know what you're coming up on.
And you have skill checks. So you might have, like, oh, I'm going to talk to him, but I'm going to use my knowledge to talk to him. So how many dice do I want to roll? Like, you always roll your 2, like, big dice, your main dice, but then you have these, like, little bonus dice that I forget what they're called, but they're smaller and they have less high numbers on them. It's mostly 1s and 2s.
But they have the auto success too.
There's the auto success, which is nice, but you don't always get them back. Those are the ones you have to refresh at the beginning of your turn. So if I decided I'm going to roll all my dice, sweet, I got a really high knowledge check. Here's 10 plus an auto hit, so I can look on my my skills. I'm like, okay, knowledge. Every little pip that I've covered up that's under 10, I'm like, okay, count those up. There's 4 right there plus this. Oh my goodness, 5? That's awesome. Let me see. A knowledge of 5? I'm talking to this guy about Shakespeare or something. Like, I don't know. It really does change because we had like entered in a knowledge check of like 2. It's like, oh, nothing happened. So then the next turn, it gives you very little information. The next turn, like, talk to him again, got a really good check, and it was like completely different. Like, wow, it's cool.
And that's something that I think you can't really get very well without either an app-based game or a GM-run game. Because in most games that are just board games, you'll kind of see on the card, like, hey, if you get 2 successes, go, pull this card out of the deck. If you get 5 successes, pull this card out of the deck. And then you just have a little bit of information of like, okay, well, I know I want to get 5 successes, so I'm going to go ahead and spend these to make sure I get that. In this, you have no idea. 10 successes could get you nothing. This guy could know nothing. You could get 1 success and still get all the information. So much...
The thresholds are they're hidden. You don't know. There's
so much is unknown, and you are literally discovering it. And you don't even know. It's part of why if you play the game multiple times even, oh, well, last time I got 5 successes here, and it was really great.
I'm going to try it again.
Maybe I only need 2 successes there, or maybe 5 was the threshold. You have no idea. Even after you accomplish it, all you know is what you did or did not work.
As you gather items, some of the items will give you bonus stats. So, like at the bottom of the list, strength 5 on this crossbow. So I get to put another little stat token on my strength track on the 5. So that's one more possible success when I roll dice. And I'm like, okay, I rolled. Oh, I got a 5. Sweet. That crossbow gave me that extra success. Throughout the game, you'll also earn experience, and this is where it really gets interesting with your skill tree, your track right here. Is you can spend the experience to bump up your track. So like if you spend 1, you can put a little pip in the 10 through 12s. 2 is for the 7, 8, 9. 3 experience will get you 4, 5, and 6. And the ultimate one is if you can get 4, you can put it in the 1, 2s, and 3s, which is like you're guaranteeing yourself a success if you can spend that much experience, which I definitely made sure to take advantage of. I was like, oh, well, I got 3, but if I can save up 1 more, it'll just like always be a success. Like it's something you aim for. It's going to help you in the long run of the game.
And it did kind of seem like they used those experience as a catch-up mechanism almost. Like if you went somewhere and you didn't roll, like you rolled decent but not really enough to do like the big thing, then you would get experience. Like we had one time with the app actually, the app crashed on us, but it is still the prototype app, so I'm not like, oh, the app's just going to crash. But we did have an app crash and went back into it, and I had to repeat that turn. And I either forgot how many successes I got, or I just re-rolled.
Yeah, you rolled again because we were like, oh, we already put everything away, and I started my turn. I was like...
Anyway, so more of the story is I had 2 different responses, and the lower, like 1 success gave me like an experience point, but 3 successes unlocked another whole branch of things to potentially get. So the experience was almost like well, you didn't really get what you needed, but good for you. Here, take that.
Yeah,
that's
that was a fun experience for you.
Yeah, wasn't that fun? Another really cool feature that this game has is, like, we were talking about how when you interact with the world, it changes the rest of the world. And there's also timing things. Like, there are people who are moving around the map, and like every few turns, it's like, okay, this person's over here now. Well, when they're in area Y of the board, that will change how people in that area even interact with you.
They hid.
At one point, like, the people I was trying to find hid because this one person was there looking for them. And so I went there trying to talk to them, and there was no one there. And I was like, oh, there's no one here. What happens? And then I waited a turn, and the guy left. And then all the people came out and opened up all this stuff I could do. So there are a lot of really cool things like that you just have to keep exploring, keep kind of... It's a very, like, logical game. Like, you have to think through things.
It feels like an exit game in a way, like, where you're just, like...
A little bit of, like,
getting information, and, like, I hear information you're getting, and I'm like, okay, so they said northwest of this place, we found that place, I'm going to talk to this guy. Like, it's not, there's no, like, lining cards up and ripping things up and drawing on things kind of exit, but it definitely is a puzzle. Like, you definitely have to remember information. Yeah,
there are definitely people that, like, give you clues. I would recommend playing this game with, like, a notepad just to kind of, like, scribble down, like, this was here, this was there. There are things, and like, well, it is a competitive game because there is a winner. Yep. Like, the information sharing at the table doesn't always help me that much because, like, Aaron heard a clue about something that I needed to find. And they said, go here, this person is dead, and this is where his body is. And I needed to go do so. I needed information about him. So I went to where his body was and didn't really get to do much there. There was a body. But then when Aaron went there, more things unlocked because he had already interacted with the ghost before and, like, he had all this other information. But I'm just saying that, like, what you've done previously, again,
does
affects what you do. And even though I had the information that he had gotten, the game knew that my character didn't have that information, so my character did not have the same options at that location that your character did.
So if you've played Chronicles of Crime or any, like, classic RPG, or if you've played Seventh Continent and you like, exploring and having a narrative and just a lot of fun, like, it's an awesome game. It's like, it almost feels co-op, but it is definitely competitive.
Even like Descent almost, it's a little bit of that. Like, it's a little less dungeon crawlery and a little bit more open world sandboxy, which, does it get any better than that?
Like, oh yeah, you got skill checks, you're rolling dice, you're taking names,
you're leveling up your character and, like, getting new stats, new items that you get that change your stats and change, like, having this item can change how you interact with the world.
If we had a seal of approval, it'd be right here.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, here's our seal of approval.
It is just the prototype, but yeah, this game is going to be big.
And if you back now on the Kickstarter, you'll get the first expansion for free.
Yeah, I definitely recommend that you guys back Time of Legends Destinies on Kickstarter. I know this is a preview and not a review, but you can probably already tell how much we love this game. So go ahead, click on the link below the card, or if you're on the page already, just back the campaign. I really think that everybody's going to enjoy this game.
Either way, subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.